Nobody ever told you the truth about intelligence. Not your teachers, not your parents, not the system that quietly decided what you'd be allowed to become. Here's the uncomfortable reality most people never realize until it's too late. Intelligence isn't about knowing more. It's about losing less time, losing less power, losing fewer battles you didn't even realize you were fighting. And right now, someone smarter than you, maybe less educated, maybe less talented, is shaping the world you live inside without asking your permission. That's not an insult, it's a warning. From the moment you were young, you were trained to chase approval. Gold stars, grades, praise, titles. You were told intelligence was something external, something measured, something validated by authority. But ask yourself this: why are so many smart people miserable, powerless, stuck? Why do men with perfect resumes answer to men who barely finished school? Why do those who follow the rules often end up serving those who ignore them? There's a silence here, a gap in the story no one wants to explain, and inside that gap lives the real hierarchy of intelligence. Machiavelli understood something centuries ago that still terrifies polite society today. The world is not ruled by the smartest people. It's ruled by the most strategically aware. He watched brilliant men get destroyed by naive honesty. He watched powerful positions collapse under moral comfort. And he noticed a pattern. Some men saw the game. Others never realized they were playing. That difference had nothing to do with intelligence as society defines it. It had everything to do with levels of perception. Let me ask you something unsettling. Have you ever looked back at a moment in your life and realized, I didn't lose because I wasn't capable. I lost because I didn't see what was happening? That's level 1 intelligence. Most men never leave it. They react, they blame, they repeat. And the system loves them for it. Because a man who reacts is predictable. A predictable man is controllable. And a controllable man will never threaten the hierarchy. Here's the brutal truth no motivational poster will tell you. Roughly 90% of people die on the first rung of intelligence. Not physically, mentally. They live their entire lives inside inherited beliefs, borrowed opinions, second-hand ambitions. They think hard work guarantees success. They think honesty guarantees safety. They think intelligence guarantees power. And every time reality contradicts them, they don't adapt. They rationalize. That fog, that confusion, that constant feeling of being one step behind. That's not bad luck. That's low-level intelligence operating exactly as designed. This video is not about feeling smart. It's about seeing clearly. Because once you recognize the levels, you can never unsee them. You'll start noticing why certain men rise effortlessly while others grind endlessly. Why some voices command rooms while others disappear mid-sentence. Why intelligence, as most people understand it, fails exactly when it matters most. And here's the dangerous part. Once you realize where you stand, you can't pretend anymore. You'll either climb, or you'll understand why you never did. In the next part, we expose level 1 completely. Not the flattering version, the real one. The mental cage most men never escape. And if you recognize yourself in it, that discomfort you feel, that's not shame. That's awareness waking up. The most dangerous prison in the world has no walls. It doesn't lock your body, it locks your interpretation of reality. And the men inside it swear they're free. Level 1. Intelligence, reaction. This is where most men live, not because they're stupid, but because they were never taught to pause. Level 1 men don't choose their thoughts. Their thoughts choose them. They wake up already responding to messages, to news, to expectations, to pressure they didn't design. They believe intelligence means having opinions, strong opinions, loud opinions. But here's the trap. Reaction feels like action, and that illusion keeps them stuck. Watch a level 1 man in conflict. He gets angry fast, defensive faster. He explains himself when no one asked. He argues facts while losing power. He believes if he's right, things will work out. But reality doesn't reward being right. It rewards being effective. And effectiveness requires something level 1 men never use: distance. Here's a pattern you'll recognize once it's pointed out. Level 1 men say things like, "That's just how I am. I speak my mind. I don't play games." They think transparency is strength. They think impulse is authenticity. They think restraint is weakness. Machiavelli would have called this suicidal honesty, because every unfiltered reaction reveals leverage, your triggers, your fears, your limits, and the world is always watching. Let me tell you a short story. Two men walk into the same room, same opportunity, same risk. The first man reacts emotionally to a challenge. He raises his voice, defends his ego, signals insecurity. The second man says nothing. He observes. He lets the other man talk. He collects information. By the end of the conversation, the first man feels heard. The second man feels in control. Guess who walks out with power? Level 1 intelligence is ruled by external stimuli. Bad mood, someone caused it. Failure, someone else's fault. Success, luck. There's no ownership here. Only excuses dressed up as explanations. And this is why motivation content often fails these men. They don't lack motivation, they lack awareness. You cannot motivate someone who doesn't realize they're trapped. The system depends on level 1 men. They are excellent workers, excellent followers, excellent consumers. They run fast, in directions chosen by others. They confuse busyness with progress, movement with momentum, noise with impact, and worst of all, they think everyone else is playing the same game. Here's the quiet horror. A level 1 man can live his entire life believing he's intelligent because society reinforces it. Degrees, titles, compliments. But intelligence that cannot anticipate is decorative. And when pressure hits, when stakes are real, when politeness disappears, that's when level 1 men collapse. If this feels uncomfortably familiar, good. That means you're not fully asleep. Because the moment you start noticing your reactions, you've already stepped toward level 2. But here's the twist. Awareness is not enough. Many men see the trap and still can't escape it. Because the next level demands something even harder than restraint. It demands pattern recognition, and most men would rather feel righteous than see clearly. In the next part, we reveal level 2 intelligence, the stage where men stop reacting, but start manipulating themselves instead. This is where false growth happens, where discipline becomes a mask, and where many ambitious men get stuck forever. If you've ever felt like you're working on yourself but not actually moving forward, you're going to want to hear this. Most men don't escape the cage. They just redecorate it and call it growth. Level 2. Intelligence, discipline without direction. This is the level that feels impressive, controlled, focused, productive. And that's why it's so dangerous. Level 2 men have learned to suppress reaction. They don't explode anymore. They don't lash out. They don't embarrass themselves emotionally. On the surface, they look evolved. But beneath that control is a silent flaw. They discipline themselves toward goals they never chose. These are the men who wake up early, read books, listen to podcasts, lift weights, track habits. They optimize everything, except their strategy. They mistake effort for intelligence, structure for insight, control for power, and society praises them endlessly for it. Here's the uncomfortable question level 2 men never ask. Who benefits from my discipline? Because discipline without leverage is just obedience in a nicer outfit. Machiavelli warned about this exact type of man, the virtuous striver, the loyal servant, the hard-working moralist, highly disciplined, highly predictable. Watch how a level 2 man fails. He commits harder when something doesn't work. He doubles down, adds more effort, more rules, more self-control. He thinks the solution to every problem is more discipline, but discipline doesn't fix bad direction. It accelerates it. And acceleration in the wrong direction feels like progress, until you realize you're further from where you wanted to be. Let me show you the trap. A level 2 man sees a powerful figure, a leader, a mentor, a system. Instead of analyzing it, he idealizes it. He adopts the routines, the mindset, the rules, not because they fit his reality, but because they look successful. This is imitation disguised as growth. And here's the cruel irony. Level 2 men often outperform level 1 men. They earn more. They appear sharper, more together, which means they rarely question themselves. Why would they? Life rewards them just enough to keep them loyal. But power? Power never comes. Level 2 intelligence still operates inside external frameworks. The rules come from outside. The goals come from outside. The validation comes from outside, and so does the ceiling. Because no system ever gives power to someone who doesn't understand how the system works. Here's the moment everything breaks. A level 2 man eventually realizes something is wrong. He's exhausted, but not fulfilled. Capable, but not influential. Disciplined, but replaceable. He did everything right, and still feels invisible. That realization either breaks him, or pushes him toward the next level. Because level 3. Intelligence is where things become dangerous. This is the point where men stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What is actually happening?" This is where perception sharpens, where masks become visible, where motivations reveal themselves, and once you see it, you can never go back. In the next part, we expose level 3, the intelligence of pattern recognition. This is where men stop being managed and start understanding why others are. But beware. Level 3, intelligence isolates you, and most men aren't prepared for that cost. The moment you start seeing patterns, you stop belonging anywhere. Level 3, intelligence, pattern recognition. This is where intelligence stops being comfortable. Level 3, men don't just see events. They see sequences. They notice what always happens before power shifts. They hear what isn't said in conversations. They sense timing, incentives, and pressure before outcomes arrive. And this is the first level where intelligence becomes lonely. A level 3 man walks into a room and instantly feels the tension. Not emotional tension, structural tension. Who defers to whom? Who interrupts whom? Who laughs too hard? Who stays silent at the right moment? He sees hierarchy forming in real time. And once you see that, small talk becomes unbearable. Here's the shift. Level 1 reacts. Level 2 obeys with discipline. Level 3 observes, not passively, strategically. He doesn't rush to speak. He doesn't rush to act. He waits for patterns to repeat, because repetition is truth. This is where most men feel like they're waking up. They start noticing how narratives are manufactured, how outrage is scheduled, how heroes and villains are assigned roles. They realize most conflicts aren't accidents. They're designed. And suddenly, life feels less random and more calculated. But here's the danger of level 3. Recognition without authority creates frustration. You see manipulation everywhere, but can't stop it. You see inefficiency, but don't control outcomes. You see lies, but telling the truth only isolates you. This is where bitterness is born. Many men stall here. They become cynical observers, commentators, critics. They know what's wrong with everything, but can't move anything. They trade ignorance for resentment, and resentment feels like intelligence. But it's not. Let me tell you what separates men who advance from men who decay at level 3. The ones who decay say, "People are stupid. The system is corrupt. There's nothing you can do." The ones who advance ask a more dangerous question. If this is the system, how do I use it? That question changes everything. Because level 3 intelligence shows you the map, but it doesn't give you the keys. To move forward, you need something uncomfortable. You need to accept that morality and effectiveness are not the same thing. And that realization is where many men retreat. Here's the internal conflict. At level 3, you start seeing how power actually moves. Through incentives, through pressure, through narrative control, and you face a choice. Do you stay morally clean and strategically irrelevant? Or do you accept that power requires compromise? Most men choose comfort. They retreat into being right. And that's why they never reach level 4. Because level 4 intelligence isn't about seeing patterns. It's about creating them. It's about influence. And influence requires courage most men don't have. In the next part, we expose level 4, the intelligence of social leverage. This is where men stop watching the chessboard and start moving pieces. But once you step here, there's no pretending innocence anymore. Power leaves fingerprints, and you will be forced to decide what kind of man you really are. Power doesn't announce itself. It arranges silence and lets others speak on its behalf. Level 4. Intelligence, social leverage. This is where intelligence becomes visible, not as brilliance, but as effect. Level 4. Men don't need to be the smartest in the room. They don't need to talk the most. They don't need credit. They understand something most never do. Reality bends through people. And people move through incentives, emotions, fear, and belonging. At level 4, you stop asking, what do I want? You start asking, what do they want and why? Because once you understand motivation, you don't need force, you create gravity. A level 4 man knows how rooms change when certain men enter. He knows why some voices are repeated while others vanish the moment they stop speaking. He understands alliances, unspoken deals, social debts. And most importantly, he understands timing. This is where Machiavelli becomes uncomfortable for modern ears. Because level 4 intelligence accepts a harsh truth. People don't follow logic. They follow emotion wrapped in logic. They follow confidence. They follow certainty. They follow men who make decisions feel inevitable. Watch how a level 4 man speaks. He doesn't argue. He frames. He doesn't demand. He positions. He doesn't chase approval. He withholds it. And that restraint creates pull. Here's a simple but dangerous insight. Most men try to convince. Level 4 men pre-select. They decide who matters before the conversation begins. They give attention strategically. They remove it just as strategically. And suddenly, people start adjusting themselves. This is why level 4 men are often misunderstood. They're called manipulative, cold, political. But what really unsettles people is this. Level 4 men don't pretend relationships are equal. They understand hierarchy exists, whether acknowledged or not, and they choose to navigate it consciously instead of pretending it doesn't exist. But here's the hidden danger of level 4. Influence is intoxicating. When you realize you can shape outcomes through people, it's tempting to stop there, to enjoy control, to play the game endlessly. Many men do. They become operators, deal makers, fixers, effective, but shallow, because leverage without vision eventually turns inward. You start managing people, instead of building something larger than yourself. And this is where level 4 intelligence collapses into quiet corruption. Here's the critical question level 4 men must face. What am I using this power for? Because if the answer is ego, the fall is guaranteed. History is full of socially brilliant men who destroyed themselves by mistaking influence for mastery. To move beyond level 4, something must shift. You must stop seeing people as pieces and start seeing systems as living organisms. You must stop reacting to dynamics and start designing environments. That's not influence, that's architecture. And this is where intelligence becomes rare. Because level 5 intelligence isn't about people anymore. It's about systems, rules, incentives, structures that outlive individual relationships. This is where power becomes quiet and nearly untouchable. In the next part, we reveal level 5, the intelligence of system builders. The men who don't fight the game. They decide how it's played. Once you see this level, you'll understand why some men disappear from view and still control outcomes from the shadows. The most powerful men don't argue. They don't persuade. They redesign the room so arguments never matter. Level 5. Intelligence, systems thinking. This is where intelligence stops being personal. Level 5 men don't win debates. They don't dominate conversations. They don't manage people one by one. They build structures that make outcomes automatic. And once a system is in place, individual effort becomes irrelevant. Here's the shift that separates level 5 from everything below it. Lower levels ask, how do I get what I want? Level 5 asks, what rules would make what I want inevitable? That question changes how you see the world. A level 5 man studies incentives the way others study personalities. He knows people don't behave according to values. They behave according to consequences. Change the consequence, and behavior changes without resistance. No confrontation required. Look around your life, your job, your finances, your habits, your stress. Most of it isn't caused by bad decisions. It's caused by bad systems you're trapped inside. Schedules designed by others. Metrics that reward the wrong behavior. Rules that benefit someone else more than you. Level 5 men see this immediately, and instead of complaining, they reposition. This is why they often look invisible. They don't announce change. They don't rebel loudly. They quietly move to environments where the rules already favor them, or they create new ones. A level 5 man doesn't ask for permission. He understands that permission is a system output, not a moral requirement. So he builds leverage upstream before authority even becomes relevant. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people believe freedom comes from effort. Level 5 men know freedom comes from structure. If your structure is wrong, no amount of motivation will save you. If your structure is right, progress happens even on bad days. This is why level 5 intelligence feels unfair, because once systems are aligned, results compound silently. Outsiders think it's luck. Insiders know it's inevitability. But here's the danger of level 5. When you master systems, you start seeing people as variables, inputs, outputs, noise, and if you're not careful, you lose something essential: perspective. Many level 5 men become detached, emotionally sterile, efficient, but empty. They optimize life until life feels mechanical, and that's where advancement stalls, because level 6 intelligence demands something paradoxical. You must understand systems deeply and still see beyond them. You must recognize that every system eventually decays. Markets shift, institutions rot, rules fail, and when they do, only those who can anticipate collapse survive intact. Level 6 intelligence isn't about building systems. It's about reading the future fractures inside them, the pressure points, the fault lines, the moment stability becomes illusion. This is where intelligence becomes prophetic and terrifying. In the next part, we reveal level 6, the intelligence of anticipation and foresight. This is where men stop reacting to the present and start positioning for realities that don't exist yet. Very few ever reach it, and fewer still survive it. The future never arrives suddenly. It whispers first, and only a few men hear it. Level 6 intelligence, foresight. This is where intelligence becomes unsettling. Level 6 men don't wait for evidence. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for consensus. They move before reality forces movement. While others debate what's happening, level 6 men are already preparing for what comes next. They read signals most dismiss as noise, small shifts in language, tiny changes in incentives, quiet reallocations of attention and capital. To everyone else, it looks like paranoia, until it doesn't. Here's the critical difference. Lower levels respond to events. Level 6 responds to trajectories. They don't ask, what is true right now? They ask, where does this inevitably lead? And then they act early, when action is still cheap. History only makes sense in hindsight, but foresight lives in uncertainty. Level 6. Men accept uncertainty as the price of advantage. They know waiting for clarity means arriving late. This is why level 6 men often look wrong, right up until they're undeniably right. They exit industries before collapse. They leave relationships before decay turns toxic. They shift identities before the old ones become liabilities. To outsiders, it looks impulsive. It's not. It's preemptive. Here's the emotional cost. Living at level 6 means existing slightly ahead of everyone else. You can't fully explain your moves because others haven't seen the evidence yet. So you look strange, unrelatable, detached, and most men can't tolerate that isolation. That's why many retreat back to comfort. They suppress foresight to preserve belonging. They wait for permission from reality, and when reality finally gives it, the opportunity is gone. Level 6. Intelligence requires one brutal sacrifice. You must give up being understood in the present to be positioned in the future. That trade-off breaks most men. But for the few who endure it, something changes. Fear loses its grip. Because when you live ahead of events, crisis becomes confirmation. While others panic, you execute. And yet, even level 6 is not the summit, because foresight still reacts, just earlier. There is one final level above anticipation, a level so rare it's almost myth. Level 7. Intelligence is not about reacting, controlling, influencing, building, or predicting. It's about detachment from the game itself. The ability to walk away from power without losing it. To see reality clearly without being owned by it. This is the level Machiavelli hinted at but never fully revealed. Because men who reach it don't write manuals, they disappear. In the final part, we expose level 7 intelligence, the intelligence of sovereignty, where power becomes optional, where identity dissolves, where the game no longer controls the player. And when you understand this level, you'll finally know exactly where you rank, and why most men never should try to reach the top. The highest form of intelligence doesn't conquer the world. It no longer needs to. Level 7. Intelligence, sovereignty. This is the level no one teaches, because it cannot be sold, it cannot be monetized, and it cannot be controlled. Level 7 men are not impressive at first glance. They don't dominate rooms, they don't seek influence, they don't need recognition. They've already won the only battle that matters. Here is the paradox. Every level before this is about gaining something. Control, leverage, foresight, power. Level 7 is about freedom from needing any of it. Not because you lack it, but because it no longer owns you. A level 7 man can enter systems without being shaped by them. He can hold power without identifying with it. He can lose status without losing himself. That is real intelligence. Machiavelli observed something few noticed. The most dangerous ruler is not the most ruthless one. It is the one who can walk away. Because a man who doesn't need to win cannot be trapped. He cannot be bribed. He cannot be threatened. He cannot be rushed. At level 7, clarity replaces ambition. You see the games clearly, and you are no longer hypnotized by them. You know when to engage. You know when to withdraw. You know when winning would cost more than losing. That discernment is the final upgrade. Here's what this level looks like in real life. You stop chasing validation. You stop arguing with fools. You stop proving yourself to systems designed to extract from you. You choose environments carefully. You choose battles rarely, and when you do engage, it's with calm precision. Most men misunderstand this level. They think it's weakness. They think it's disengagement. They think it's surrender. It's not. It's selective involvement. Power without attachment. And here's the final truth. Very few men should ever try to reach level 7. Because if you haven't mastered the levels below it, sovereignty turns into isolation. Detachment turns into emptiness. Freedom turns into drift. This level is not an escape, it's an arrival. So where do you rank? Not where you want to be, not where you think you are, but where your actions reveal you live. Because intelligence isn't what you know. It's what you consistently see, and what you choose to do once you see it. If this video unsettled you, that's not accidental. It means something shifted, and the next move is yours. But remember this, the ladder doesn't care about your intentions, only your awareness. And now, you can't unsee it.